Hey everybody, it's Haitch, and welcome to the latest installment of Dune Pod, your one-stop shop to get ready for the new Dune movie. This week, I'm joined as always by my co-host Jason.
Sean Connery really has to deliver some dialogue in the last act of this movie. Like, he's got to deliver T.S. Eliot, Nietzsche. Like, he's basically doing lost verses from Dr. Octagon.
And by New York Times reporter and best-selling author Mike Isaac.
It's like the way you admired your dad's strength when you were a kid. You're like, damn, my dad is strong, but he's not gross, ripped strong, you know? It's just my dad could kick your ass.
On this episode, we discuss the 1974 sci-fi mind bomb, Zardoz. We cover the implications of counter-counterculture in the mid-1970s, the unintended consequences of immortality, and the dangers of wearing a mankini. If you're enjoying the show, we need your help. Be cool like listener Swarty76 and leave us a 5-star rating and a review wherever you listen to your podcasts, as it really helps new listeners find the show. And now, Zardoz. So what's it like being a world-famous, New York Times best-selling author?
Well, I'm just as stupid as I always have been, I guess. You guys can look at my Twitter and Instagram and kind of prove that at this point.
You're like, my record is public.
Yeah, I think I have given up on there's a lot of journalists who just sort of become like Tom Brokaw, very straight anchorman sort of thing, and I just have no ability to do that ever. So I'm just going the very opposite direction.
Nice, excellent. Well, for the record, I love Super Pumped. Great book.
Really good.
Oh, thanks, man. Thank you both.
It's a fascinating insight, not just on Uber, but also I like the portion just focusing on the entire app culture and how that sprung up and really changed our lives in a dramatic way.
That's nice to hear from folks. I mean, honestly, it's always when folks that are in or around tech say that I didn't sound totally wrong, then I'm, at least I'm happier, And y'all, I apologize for my ignorance. Are y'all super deep into it, or this is still the beginning episodes wise?
This is episode 17 or something like that.
Oh man. All right.
20.
This is episode 20.
This is a big one.
Wow.
Yeah, we technically are on season 2 because we took a 1-week break when Matt took a vacation, and then we're going to be concluding season 2. What's it November 11th? Is that the last one?
Because that's the last recording.
Because my wife is pregnant and our baby comes November 18th.
I saw that. Congratulations,
Thank you,
man. That's amazing.
Yeah. So we're gonna take, and then because the movie got postponed, which we'll get to in Dune News. That's right. We can just take a long break and come back whenever we want.
Season 2 and 3 are going to be a longer gap.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll see. We'll see. I'm arguing for just a reasonable time frame there.
Do you have any relationship with Dune, with the book or the movies?
No, so as I come on the Dune podcast,
many guests do not, so it's fine.
Okay. Oh, okay. Then I feel somewhat better. I have seen the movie, the David Lynch version, which is classic. Yeah. Dare I say? And I'm a big Denis Villeneuve fan, and sort of looking forward to what he's going to do, but I've never read the book, so I'm still kind of an amateur in the world.
Yeah. Got it. Well, there's a great podcast for you where we're reviewing all of Denis' films plus all the actors and actresses. So.
Oh my God. All right. I'm going to go back and actually listen to these.
You and everybody else.
We offered you a choice of which movie to do. And I
was trying to think of which the other ones were, actually.
You just jumped at Zardoz. You were absolutely, which made me think you had some prior relationship with this film. But you were watching it for the first time last night.
My only relationship with Zardoz is, as a young boy, sort of walking through the video store and seeing the VHS tape of Sean Connery in a red mankini, and always being curious, but never quite taking the leap. So this was the perfect occasion for me to take the leap.
We've talked about that in a previous shelf where people of our generation where there was video stores, there was definitely a shelf of films where you were just I'm not ready for that yet. Like, I don't know what's gonna be. If I watch that, something's gonna change. For me, like that movie was like Clockwork Orange as like a young boy. I was like, I know something is fucked up in that movie.
You're reaching for it, and you look at Carl behind the counter, and he's just like,
not you, man. Not for you, man.
Next year.
Yeah. That's great.
I'm still young enough to. Do you remember the Disney videos where they had like plastic
clamshell
boxes?
clamshell.
Real.
Yeah.
I pushed my brother down and cut his head open on one of those when we were kids.
Goddamn.
And he had to get stitches. That's how far back.
Wow.
Of film.
You committed assault with like a Bambi. Like
that's exactly right.
It's pretty baller.
He has a scar to this day. Sorry, Joe.
Well, Mike Isaac, welcome to Dune Pod.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, we're really excited to have you here. And as we've discussed, we're doing 1974's Zardoz, starring Sean Connery in a mankini or loincloth, as you like, or male diaper. But it also stars a young Charlotte Rampling, who in Denis Dune 2021 plays the Reverend Mother Helen Gaius Mahayam, as featured in the trailer administering the Gom Jabbar.
It's all starting to connect for me at this point now.
Yeah, there's a method to the madness.
There is. This is the biggest stretch that we've made. I was like, she's in the movie, she's in the other movie. I really want to watch Zardoz, so we're going for it. But so that's our episode tonight, just around the corner. At the bottom of the hour, we're going to get into that. But meanwhile, next week on Dune Pod, we have Lorelei David, a VFX editor from Industrial Light and Magic.
Whoa.
And she is joining us for our first Rebecca Ferguson film. Rebecca Ferguson, who plays Jessica Atreides in the new film. And we are doing Mission Impossible Fallout.
Oh, nice.
Which is awesome. I don't know if you guys have seen that movie, but it is a kick-ass.
That's the most recent one, right?
That's the most recent one, yeah.
Yeah, that was good. I like that. We were in the theater for that.
Also, Jason, shot by Rob Hardy, who was the DP for Devs and Ex Machina.
Oh, great.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So great. I'm excited to see that. I'm very behind on the Mission Impossible franchise. I don't remember where I left it.
Well, I will just say for folks that are wondering what to do from the time you hear this episode and next week, obviously Mission Impossible 3 was J.J. Abrams, and it was unbelievably good. Philip Seymour Hoffman is the bad guy.
That's the last one I saw.
Okay.
He's
really
great.
good.
Philip Seymour Hoffman is fucking amazing in that.
Yeah.
The opening scene with him is just mind-blowing. And then Ghost Protocol is the next one, which is 4, also very good. And then 5 is Rogue Nation. And that was the first one to feature Rebecca Ferguson. So if you want to know what's going on, you should at least watch 5 and 6.
Which one are we watching? 6?
6.
Good Lord. I didn't know there even was these many movies. I've also only ever seen one Fast and Furious movie. So I don't know. There's a
I'm
gap.
with you there, actually.
Fair.
I tuned out after number 2 because do you remember John Woo's? It was the worst
that one was
Mission
bad.
Impossible I've ever seen. And I really bummed out because I always liked John Woo, but that was one of the worst movies ever.
All right. Mike, so in 99 or 2000, whenever that movie came out, I snuck away from work. I was at Critical Path at the time, and I went and saw it in the afternoon. And at the big finale, Doug Ray Scott is the bad guy. And when his whole like plot is to blackmail these guys into giving them stock options so that they can make a fortune. And I was like, oh no, what is happening?
I forgot about that. Oh my God.
Bad.
It's too good.
I remember Philip Seymour Hoffman in Mission Impossible 3 is the I'm going to hurt her and then I'm going to find you and I'll kill her and I'm going to, that whole speech, right?
That's the one.
Do you have a wife, girlfriend?
It's up to you how this goes.
Because you know what I'm going to do next? I'm going to find her. Whoever she is, I'm going to find her and I'm going to hurt her.
Nice. Philip Seymour Hoffman lived in my building when I lived in New York. He lived in the apartment above me. Yeah.
That's a cool claim to fame. Actually.
Yeah.
He's one of those that I'm super bummed out that passed away so early. He was just so good.
Of course. So, shall we get into Dune news?
Would you like to know more?
All right, the first critical piece of Dune news is we have now confirmed that Warner Brothers and Legendary listen to Dune Pod.
Yes, we've got the influence. We've been talking for weeks about how Like, even though it would be sad, the responsible decision is to push the movie back because no one's going to the theater in 2 months. And if they release this movie the way they did Tenet, it's going to tank, and then there will be no money for the sequel. And this movie only covers the first half of the book. So if they only cover the first half of the book and don't get the money to shoot the second half, it'll be very sad. So yes, protect the franchise at all cost. Delay. And they listened, and I'm glad.
You're
glad
welcome.
to have it's kind of a heady feeling to have that level of influence over the cinema industry, the movie business.
I'm glad you got. Do you think they really were planning on just pushing ahead, or were they just like?
It seemed
I can't imagine.
there were signs that they sort of had realized this wasn't. I think Tenet really was like the sign, like
Really
this
was
doesn't
the
work.
death blow.
And then Mulan basically showed that they
yeah.
can't do the like if there's the money doesn't work to like kind of do it in the like directive.
Did it fail on direct?
It wasn't a great movie. It wasn't well received, and it was controversial.
The controversy, yeah.
But it didn't make the money either. So, I mean, we don't know, but like they couldn't have been happy about it if like it was like, oh, this is great. Like we made all this money off of Disney plus.
Totally.
So one thing that is nice is the fact that they didn't just kick it back by 2 months or 3 months or 5 months. They kicked it back by 10 months. So that was a really good move. Just like, get it out of here.
Yeah.
Let's not worry about it. I don't want to talk about it on Dune Pod
Yeah.
for a long time.
Yeah.
Hopefully by next October.
Good for you guys.
We will be in good shape.
Yeah. According to today's The Daily, Don McNeil's feeling very good about the spring of next year of there being vaccine. So I feel it's all lining up.
Nice.
It's light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right. Our next piece of Dune news is Rebecca Ferguson, who we were just discussing, and she was talking about reading Dune and comparing that to doing a crossword puzzle.
Yeah. She didn't, I think
Is that a good thing?
she didn't finish it, I think is what that meant.
Yes. For me, it was very much a new world, which means I'm an open book, but an open book that will do research. She told Empire for their November 2020 issue. I love learning new things. When I eventually started reading the book, I found it so complex and difficult, I didn't finish it. It was like doing a crossword puzzle. What's in the middle of a stone? And I'm going, I don't know, a hard fucking material?
Amazing.
That's pretty awesome.
Do you guys feel like you're doing a crossword puzzle when you're reading the books?
No.
I don't. I think like we sort of talked about this before. I think Dune has this reputation of being a very complicated book because it is in the tradition of hard science fiction in which Herbert like introduces a bunch of concepts without explaining them. But it's not as though there aren't answers. Like there are answers in the book. You don't need to like go to Wikipedia, which didn't exist, but like you don't need to go and do extracurricular research. If you read the book, particularly the first one, it kind of is a self-contained thing and you get where you're going.
But it's dense. It's definitely dense and challenging. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And it takes...
I mean, because from the first 20 pages, he's just introducing a bunch of like, what's a mentat? What's the Kwisatz Haderach? What's the Chom? What's the Landsrat? All these things are not defined, and there's no like kind of. They actually have inserted an appendix now that defines like terms, but yeah, whatever. It's a bit of a challenge.
I feel like in Neuromancer, Gibson, I'm not super steeped in hard sci-fi, but like they give you enough context clues to just sort of put it together if you're reading.
It's the same.
You're reading for closeness.
It's the same thing. I would say like something like Snow Crash is like a lot harder because it's so like conceptually dense and like there's a lot of stuff in there that's like not plot, like fucking Sumerians. But like that's less true in Dune.
All right. Now I'm not scared. You might get me to actually read the books now.
I always recommend people read like the first read until a worm shows up. And like if you're not into it,
it's a good rule in life in general.
Yeah, if you're not into it by the time there's a worm, then just bail because it's not going to get any better. But like yeah.
Got it.
Well, I will give one last piece of Dune news, which is that our man Josh Brolin was on the Team Deakins podcast. So Roger Deakins, the best cinematographer in history, has an incredible podcast, and we've talked about it many times on this podcast. But Josh told a great story about that he was not a very popular actor when he was filming Planet Terror for Robert Rodriguez. And he said that he was considered at that time a TV guy or a guy who should have made it, but it was past his time. And he happened to, through Robert Rodriguez, hang out with Sam Shepard, who said, this really great book came out yesterday. It's called No Country for Old Men by Cormac McCarthy. And the Coen brothers are going to make a movie out of it. And so Josh decides that he's going to try out for it, even though he's not invited. He has Robert light and shoot a submission directed by Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah.
And they submitted that to the Coen brothers. And the Coen brothers responded with, "Who lit this? Because it looks really good." And they did not give him the job at that point. He had to go back and later worm his way into the final audition spot for the movie. And then he nailed it and got it.
Oh my God.
Wow.
That's killer.
That is good.
So Mike, we did No Country on this pod a while ago. It's one of our favorite movies. And Josh Brolin in Dune as Gurney is just a dream.
No, I'll go back and listen to that one for sure. It's a favorite of mine, movie-wise, and a very good book as well.
Yes, yes.
Oh God, I'm so excited right now. I'm so excited. We're gonna start.
Any other Dune news?
No, we got to get to it, man. I can't wait any longer. I'm so excited to talk about Zardoz.
All right, let's get into it. Zardoz is a warning against the dangers of achieving our wildest dreams and the steep cost of stagnation. Zed is an exterminator, one of the savage barbarians riding the ruins of the Outlands, hunting down and killing the people known as the Brutals, in service to his god, Zardoz. When Zed infiltrates the Vortex, home to the seemingly evolved and refined Eternals, a people who have conquered death and achieved immortality, he is drawn into a vicious power struggle. Treated by the Eternals with revulsion, fascination, fear, and even desire, Zed will be revealed as something more than anyone imagined. In his quest for revenge, he will seize the mantle of Liberator and change the course of human history forever. Zardoz.
It's really good, man. It's really good. I think you kind of made it make too much sense. Like, I think you sort of made it, like, I think that's like a movie that
I feel dumber than I feel like I was supposed to know all that when I was watching it.
Yeah.
It's one of those movies where, when you walk out of the movie theater and like, this probably didn't exist when it came out, but you immediately need to like go on the internet and figure out what the fuck you just saw and have other people talk to you about it. That was what it was for me.
It's funny you say that because I don't always do this, but I went and I looked what Roger Ebert wrote about it when the movie came out.
Oh my God.
And he gave it 2.5 stars actually, which seems incredibly generous. And the end of his review was talking about like, sometimes you go and see a movie and like, you just have no idea what the fuck it was about. And you just see a bunch of people waiting in line to go see it. And when you come out, they ask you like, there's just like kind of exchange of like, yeah, good fucking luck with that. And like the last line of his review, this is the end of his review, says, every once in a while, a movie like that comes along, a movie you've got to see so that you too can be in the dark about it. In the movie's own terms, this much can be said for sure. It may not make you an apathetic, but it will certainly age you by 2 hours. Roger Ebert, 2.5 stars.
Oh, that's good.
He was great,
rest
man.
in peace.
Roger Ebert was, rest in peace. Real legend.
R.I.P. Yeah.
My cousin was his assistant.
Oh, wow. That's
said he was a good guy. Yeah, it was a random thing.
That's great.
I will do that too, though. I'll go and but usually it's for movies that I really liked, and I just want to get more of it, but get, I guess start get it around the edges and talk, either see what the reviews are. Usually I'll read the New York Times, A.O. Scott and Manola do amazing writing, but that's usually my thing. I fell asleep at 1 a.m. last night after watching it, so I was not able to do this. But it immediately inspired that in me, basically.
I think it's
awesome.
like this movie too, kind of benefits from a little bit of reading, just because it's such a it feels like such an artifact of its time. It feels like it particularly it's it exists in this weird moment in movie history where it's in the the Raging Bulls era of okay, studios are freaked out, the big studio system had this big setback, they're just letting people do whatever, and Borman basically had this huge success with Deliverance, and they were just do whatever the fuck you want. He was anything, and they were literally anything, do anything you want. And he was okay, bet. and like, you know, and like this is what happened. And then 2 is it also exists in this weird movie of not just cinema history but science fiction history, where it's like pre-Star Wars and post like hippie era. And so it's like where like everything's kind of a reaction to that, like that cultural moment.
2001.
Yeah. It's like, and it's like, and it does, but like nothing's like kind of caught its footing yet. So it feels like it's frozen in amber, because it's really about like these very specific like late 60s, early 70s social issues that like are kind of frozen in amber now. And like, but there's no kind of science fiction vocabulary, like cinema vocabulary of how science fiction even works, like how it even just works, like in terms of telling a story. And so it's just,
that's really good.
It's really an experimental film. And like, it was interesting. And so I think it's interesting that Ebert gave it even 2.5 stars, because like this movie is just like not, it just doesn't work actually. But like it's a really interesting artifact of its time.
I still maintain that there actually is a phenomenal movie inside, like the concepts that are here are really phenomenal. It needs a completely different set of execution in order to achieve that. But let us attempt to go to second level together.
Let's do it.
and talk through this movie and see if we can all get aligned here.
Okay.
So first of all, the movie opens with this dweeb floating head. I'm Arthur Frayne.
Strong opening. Basically like the DVD screensaver. You're like waiting for it to like hit the corner perfectly.
Totally. But so, and it's just all exposition. So did Dino De Laurentiis see this and say, I'm going to use this in Dune?
Yeah. Because it is like
the beginning.
The beginning of Dune is also like the beginning of Lynch's Dune is also a floating head, like just giving exposition.
I totally forgot about
just
that.
Like straight exposition.
100%. Yeah.
But that was that, you guys tell me if I'm wrong, was that tacked on afterwards?
Yes, after test screenings.
Yeah,
after tests, and they were like, what the fuck happened? And so,
correct.
And then Dino was the one who was like, go put that in there, basically.
Yeah.
All of that was added after Lynch sort of gave up the ghost with his 5-hour cut, and then Dino went to work doing reshoots and then also adding that stuff in.
And doing all that. Okay.
That's why the movie opens with 3 sets of exposition. The Dune movie opens with it's like, look, like we're going to try again. Like there's a house, there's a thing, there's a spice. Just keep it going. Yeah. It's terrible though. I mean, like this is, it's again, like Star Wars was just like, we're going to put some fucking words on the screen and they're going to scroll down.
We're going to go.
And then there's going to be a spaceship and you guys can run with it from there.
So I do like the element though that is like a play, right? So even the fact that he has a beard drawn on his face instead of a real beard, and then he talks about he's playing God or puppet master, but then he also acknowledges the fact that he has been invented.
I am the puppet master. I manipulate many of the characters and events you will see, but I am invented too for your entertainment and amusement. And you, poor creatures, who conjured you out of the clay? Is God in show business too?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Break the fourth wall-ish sort of thing.
Totally.
Yeah. It is like, it's a very like a Midsummer Night Dream kind of opening, right? It's like, like gentles, your hands, like, or whatever. Like,
100%. All right, so this was the part that stuck out to me when I first saw this film. So the next scene, we got the Chiron of this year, 2293, and we have a giant floating stone head with everybody saying, "Praise be to Zardoz." And then we have Zardoz speaks.
The gun is good. The gun is good. The penis is evil.
I mean, just off the jump, you know where you're going. I mean, you're just like, they're really setting the tone strong. Like, penis is like the 7th word of spoken dialogue in the film. That's not the exposition. And it's to say the penis is bad. Like, it's a wild beginning. But also, you forgot one critical thing, which is that there's also, in addition to the head, there's the Zardoz logo, which is fucking metal as shit.
Yes,
like,
that is a metal-ass logo.
I would love like an oral history of whoever worked on the Zardoz, just the logo of like
Mike,
what
tattoo.
I was gonna say, right here. Neck tattoo next.
So you have the Zardoz head goes on about how
the penis shoots seeds and makes new life to poison the earth with a plague of men, as once it was. but the gun shoots death and purifies the earth of the filth of brutals. Go forth and kill. Zardoz has spoken.
Then guns begin shooting out of the head's mouth.
Ejaculating out of the mouth.
And by guns shooting out of the mouth, I mean hundreds of rifles and pistols and machine guns come flying out of this giant stone mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah, what the hell? And then
That was awesome too.
we have our first shot of Zed, who breaks the fourth wall as
shoots
well
at the screen.
and shoots the audience.
Yeah. And you kind of learn later that basically you've been lied to completely. Like both like the Arthur Frayne setup is like a weird head fake. That's not really like what's going on. And like the Sean Connery as like the exterminator, like is not what he appears to be in this scene. You know, he's not like what he appears to be in this scene.
That's right. So we cut from there to seeing the head is flying and Zed has infiltrated it. He is hiding in a pile of
Grain.
Yeah, I couldn't tell that was like wheat or something.
Exactly. And then he sees people in pods, and then he sees Arthur walking at the front of the stone head near the mouth, and he shoots him. And Arthur says, you know, I could have helped you. Now you'll be a bore. And then he flies out on wires as he falls out. Like that was the most ridiculous shot.
Yeah. I was so confused. I immediately just like had so many questions of like, wait, so is he really dead? Is like what's going on?
He shot him in the arm too.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like, he sort of like winged him. Like it wasn't a fatal blow.
It wasn't a fatal blow. He certainly didn't need to jump out the thing. But then he did jump out the thing and he seemed to be able to fly. So like maybe it's not that big of a deal. I don't know, man.
I guess it also doesn't matter, right? If you know that you're going to die
Right.
and be remade, why would you walk around with a flesh wound?
Yeah, exactly.
That's sort of like Edge of Tomorrow, just sort of
Right.
fucked up my leg and then shoot myself and then come back. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Which is also a really good movie.
That is a really good
Absolutely.
movie. Yeah.
This whole movie makes sense, guys. Every bit. We'll see.
You're just smarter than me.
So then we get introduced to Vortex 4. The head lands and Zed gets out. And this is basically like a 19th century village.
It's really just Ireland in 1974. Like it's not a 19th century village. Like Ireland in 1974 was a little rural. Like I don't think it wasn't like a big dressing down.
Nice. That is fair. We have a lot of emoting, with a lot of like body moves. And then also I was wondering about the upper body strength because he doesn't put the gun away for like 25 minutes. He's just holding it. Everywhere he's running, the gun is out and ready to see what's going on.
He's in good shape.
I was just going to say, he's in good shape.
Amazing.
In this movie. Yeah. He's in good shape, but it's not like he's a Marvel. It's not like like Zac Efron in good shape. Like
it's like the way you admired your dad's strength when you were a kid. You're like, damn, my dad is strong, but he's not like gross, ripped strong. You know, he's just like
Sean Connery, the OG dad bod.
He is the OG dad bod.
He apparently the reason he's in this movie is it's post James Bond, right? It's post Diamonds Are Forever, which is like 1971. And he was no longer going to be Bond. He later comes back and does You Only Live Twice or whatever, but that's like a fluky weird thing. And apparently Sean Connery couldn't find work in 1974. Like that's like why he did this movie, which I don't really, I tried to find out why that was true. I think it was just like people thought he was Bond and like didn't have any other conception of what he could do.
Typecast.
The total budget of the film, I believe, was $1 million, of which Connery was paid $200,000.
Yeah.
But part of that was he said, instead of hiring a driver, pay me what you would pay a driver and I will drive myself.
Right.
And 2, John Borman, I'm moving into your house and I'm going to live with you while he filmed, which they did.
I'm just going to live with your family.
Oh my God.
And apparently he was great. He would come home and he would do poetry and he was like a consummate gentleman and a great guest.
Yeah.
Wow.
Who knew?
Is the director Irish or did he just live in Ireland?
He's English, but he lived in Ireland. Yeah.
Got it. And Sean Connery's Scottish, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
Sean Connery's
Okay.
Scottish. Yeah.
Just want to make sure. I don't want to insult someone accidentally.
You can visit Vortex 4, which is like just south of Dublin, and it's now like a horsey school of some sort. It's like some horsey riding
Wow,
school.
wow, wow.
On my first post-pandemic
Yeah.
retreat.
I highly recommend Ireland.
Zardoz tour.
In general, Ireland is just a lovely vacation destination.
We actually really want to go. At some point, I would like to get the hell out of here. And I've never been. I've only been to like London.
Yeah.
Never got really out there, so that would be cool.
It's great. Ireland's super
Ireland is
fun.
amazing.
Great people, great country. Like actually, there's interesting food and lots of different quadrants, and just drink yourself silly. It's great.
It's good stuff. All right, so Zed is captured by May, and she uses her mind powers to dominate him, and then she basically takes him back to an area to begin studying. So first of all, this is where we have the shot as she's perusing through his memories, and Consuela, finally we have Charlotte on screen, who looks absolutely amazing in this film.
Yeah.
But we have the shot with Zed lying back on the table.
Very weird BDSM vibes. Like, very.
What is that?
Very strange. Like, not to kink shame, but like, there's some, like, he's got his, it's like, seems like his hands are psychically tied behind his head, is basically what I read from that scene.
Okay.
It's a real choice.
So at this point, like, do they sort of, I know there's like differing levels of how, advanced Sean Connery is or not, but like are in the mind of the two women who have captured him, at this point, do they think he's just sort of like an ignoramus who doesn't know shit, right? He's just sort of like, your job is to kill people on this planet, and we are far more sophisticated with you. So just, we can do with you what we want.
Yeah, they view him like an animal, which is like why they keep him in a cage later. It's just like, oh, like this cool kind of like, and they view themselves as like a different species. They're like Homo, like Eternus or something like that. Like it's on a chart at some point. And it's like, oh, like we're not even the same species as this like ancient ancestors are. So it's like basically they came across like a Cro-Magnon man and are just like, oh wow, like what can he do? Is he super strong? Like,
By the way, this screenplay was based or influenced by an Aldous Huxley book, After Many Summers.
Cool.
Huxley famously in Brave New World, you have the character of the Savage who's brought over to the Brave New World and is a celebrity and also looked on with derision and fear and fascination and desire. So it is a similar
That's interesting.
kind of model in that, at least in the ether for Borman as he's writing this. So you do have, part of this is they don't have, they don't have sex, they don't have violence, they don't have those things in the vortex. So as they're looking at his memories, and eventually you have the whole sort of group of Eternals there, and they're basically watching him, murdering people and being violent. And one of them says, oh, such suffering. And another says, oh, you can't equate their feeling with ours. It's just entertainment. So this is definitely the social satire of, these Eternals looking down on the savages and saying that their feelings don't really matter.
Interesting.
That makes sense.
So May wants to go deeper and understand more. Consuela just wants him destroyed because she's afraid that he will poison the community. And it is interesting. So they establish the first bits here of how the society works and the fact that they haven't had any new births. They've been with the static size of the community, and establishing that May had previously asked to have births be introduced to sort of start mixing things up. And the people not wanting to sort of disturb what the balance is.
Yeah. And this is where you kind of get like the other reason they want him around, which is like that they don't have sex anymore, which could become, like plays a key role later. I'm not gonna, I'm just teasing. I'm not getting into it.
Yeah, you're teasing. It's coming.
Yeah. I mean, it's the most important scene in the movie.
There is a bullet on my sheet called penic response.
Yeah.
So yes, we're getting there.
Yeah. Hey, did she say penic in the thing?
Yeah, no.
That yours?
No, she doesn't say penic, does she?
Yeah, penic response.
No.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, I'll be playing it right about in just a minute. But
oh, wow.
Oh, I love it. I love this movie.
God, fuerte.
So he ends up going to work for Friend, who is one of the Eternals, and he takes him on, and he basically says, first of all, he whips him and says, tell me what happened to Arthur Frayne. He wants to know. But he also says that he was in Arthur's confidence, and that he can ask questions, and he'll be willing to give him information. And we also have this one scene, I don't know if you guys picked up on this, but there's a scene where after they're working, he's making bread.
Oh yeah, this fucking weird ass green bread in the weird fucking celestial oven. God.
Yes.
Just like what was the choice there, man? Like I really just like need again like an oral history with just like I don't want none of the stars, like not the director. I just want like production design, like the people who had to build the sets. Borman's wife did the costumes, and she made some fucking choices in this movie.
Yes.
Like it, like just I just need to know like what was on the mood board before they like settled on the celestial oven that they ended up with.
A large blotter of acid.
Multiple. So they do have this great scene that is completely unexplained where a friend tells a joke to the people making the bread, but he's talking backwards.
So great. Did you reverse the audio?
No, somebody else has already done it on the internet, and they pronounced it to be gibberish. So we don't have any explanation of what he was doing or why he was saying that. It's just random noise.
My interpretation of that was sort of like, you know, the movie, the Meryl Streep, Albert Brooks movie, like Defending Your Life, in which Albert Brooks dies and goes to the afterlife and he has to like defend the choices he made. And like Rip Torn is like his like, you know, celestial, like his like afterlife coach or whatever, like like defense attorney basically. And like it's established that, you know, basically humans on Earth only have access to like 4% of their brains, but when they get to the afterlife, they can use 100% of their brains. And so like they have all these new like abilities. And one of the things is that they can eat foods that like normal humans would like think like, or what recently deceased humans think are gross. And so like there's a scene where like Rip Torn's like eating this pile of slop and like Albert Brooks tries to taste it and he's like, oh my God, it's fucking awful. He's like, yeah, well not to me because I use like so much of my brain. I interpreted the joke on that level, which is like, oh, like they're so advanced. They can just be like, but another important point. This scene obviously left a big impression on me. Is that
I love it.
The shuffling audio that he does when he's telling the sounds a lot like what the guild navigators in Lynch's Dune talk like.
Humans cannot stop him. Remedy this situation. Restore spice production, or you will live out your life in a pain amplifier.
If you go back and watch the scenes, like they've got those like little like speaker boom mics in front of them to like translate what they're saying into human speak.
Really
and
good.
if you just isolate the audio of that, it's very much like so maybe a big time.
Oh my God! Yes.
When were the Dune books published?
Well, Dune was published in 65. So this is the book predates this, but no filmed adaptation.
Ostensibly, right. I guess I'm more a question, less of like about like films overlapping and more how much of the Dune stuff would seep into anyone who's into the hard sci-fi realm at all, you know.
Children of Dune was 74, so that's the third book. That's the completion of the first trilogy. So it was definitely out there, and it was an absolute sensation.
It was a big success,
in the world.
yeah.
So,
was it really?
Yeah, it was a big success. Books 1 and 3 were huge successes.
Yeah, so I would not be surprised that Borman was influenced, because there are definitely similarities that we'll be talking about.
Yeah.
So the next thing that gets introduced in the next scene, there's two different trials that are discussed. You have the trial of George Satan.
Oh my God! What did you have? Do you have the crimes written down? I was looking for this today.
George Satan, accused of transmitting a negative aura in second level.
Yes.
And he denies doing so. He says he's innocent of psychic violence.
I'm innocent of psychic violence.
Which we saw some psychic violence tonight on the debate, but
transmitting a bad aura, is that what he says?
Accused of transmitting a negative aura in second level.
Basically, he was like harshing the vibe. Like that's like what he is. He was like harshing the mellow, and he like.
I mean, that is punishable by death. In my opinion. He sort of brings down the vibe.
Accused of fucking up the cipher on second level.
Well, so he basically, initially he says that he was just offering constructive criticism, but then later he turns around and he says that it wasn't intentional, and that his thoughts leak out through the head wound of my second death, and that he was improperly repaired when his body was reconstructed. But then he flips and he says, I hate you all.
He's like, actually, it's bullshit. I hate you all.
Exactly. Yeah. And so this is where you have this amazing introduction of a concept of everyone here, the Eternals, live forever. And they're all young. They're in their, 20s or whatever. But when they commit crimes, they are aged.
So what happens to him then?
He'll get 6 months at least.
Prison?
Aging.
Aging?
Yes, I'm getting old myself. 3 months here, a year there. These sentences add up.
So if you're bad often enough, you'll die.
They make you old, but they don't let you die.
So what's to stop you killing yourself?
I do now and again, but the Eternal Tabernacle simply rebuilds me.
Right.
And since they are stuck for all eternity, anytime they get aged, they're getting stuck with a worse and worse body that they have to deal with.
Right.
And eventually they end up in the area of the renegades. And that's where Friend takes him. And those are folks who have aged to the point where they're senile. So it's eternal senility.
Seems rough.
It's bad.
But you could kill yourself, right? Just to come back as not like an old.
No, you come back as an old.
You come back as an old?
As an old again?
Yeah, absolutely.
What level of consciousness do the renegades that are senile, like, are they aware that they're like trapped in this state of
They seem somewhat lucid. I mean, they seem, yeah.
Some, I mean, you see them raging against it, right? Like they're and really frustrated, but and they do have some sense, like the old man at the end is talking to him, having escaped and that kind of stuff. So they definitely have a sense, and that would be horrible to be trapped in that body for eternity.
This is where I think you get into, like, again, what I was talking about before with like this era of sci-fi is very obsessed with like the counterculture of the 60s and like youth culture in general. And like, there's like sort of this, part of the thing that's going on is kind of an attack or like hey, hippies, it's not so great. Like, if you end up in eternity, be eternally youthful or whatever, like there's a downside or whatever. And like, so like this movie kind of is of a piece with like Logan's Run, which is another like favorite of mine from the time period of like, so like where you're like, oh, like you're eternally young and like you can have like, sex with whoever you want, like on like, the dial a sex partner like channel in Logan's Run, and like everyone's got like funky outfits, but there's a dark side, like, and they're just so they're just like, it's just clearly like a older filmmakers like obsession with like how fucked up the hippies, like fucking hippies, I'm gonna show you if you got what you wanted, you'd be like aged in an old person's home and like hunted by the Sandman. It would be terrible, you wouldn't hate it.
Right. The studio heads are like, oh, puppy.
Yeah, you go ahead with your fucking like Godspell outfits and dance around with your weird halter tops and like, I'm gonna show you what happens.
Yeah. Well, so the other dangerous element that's introduced are the apathetics. And these are young, seemingly healthy bodied folks, but they're totally blank.
Just disturbing.
So we cut from there straight to penic response.
Okay, great. Walk us through it. So don't rush it. Just
slowly build.
Break it down slow. Yeah.
Exactly.
Do it slowly.
Penic erection was one of the many unsolved evolutionary mysteries surrounding sexuality. Every society had an elaborate subculture devoted to erotic stimulation.
It is established there. They've been doing a lot of study on how does eroticism work and what is the contact. And they show the picture of like a cartoon drawing of like a limp dick.
But nobody could quite determine how this becomes this.
And then an erect penis, and it's just like, okay, guys.
I love that like they're like a race of eternal super geniuses, and they don't know how hard-ons work. Like that's like that's what this movie is trying to establish in this scene.
Maybe they're just all big nerds.
That's what they're saying. That's what they're saying. No, they're saying that like there's so much in their head that they've lost like sort of the physical like reality of their bodies.
Well, they literally can't get erect. So that's what she establishes.
Right.
So they can't get, it's a super race that can't get it up. And so essentially they want to try and understand how it works for brutals because it's established that they certainly can. So now we have the stimulation video.
This experiment will measure autoerotic stimulation of the cortex, leading to erection. Play.
which the first is just like video of a woman in the shower soaping up, which it was like, okay, great video. But that doesn't work on Zed. So then they go to naked mud wrestling.
Is that what that was? Is that?
It's an interesting question too of like where'd they get that footage from? Like what
Yeah, I was trying to figure out what I was looking at. I was like, what is this?
Where am I?
Naked mud wrestling. I guess that's a thing.
But that also doesn't work. And so Consuela's like trying to figure out what's happening. And then Sean, like very impishly, he just starts staring at Consuela, and the indicator of his interest on the screen just starts going crazy, and everybody's looking at him, and he's like,
He's like, yeah, that's right. I'm gonna get a hard on by looking at you and prove my point. I mean, it's a wild idea. Like that and like at this point, the movie, I really think like you just can't take it seriously anymore. Like you're just like, okay, like they're off on an adventure of some sort. They've got some kind of like, Crystal and Pornhub situation, and like I do love again the production design, the set design of that room, like where their general meeting room, like their weird ass romper room.
The one where there are people stuck in the walls.
Yes.
Or are we talking about
that's
crazy.
good too. That's good too.
Yeah.
That's very much reminded me of the lobby of the Cosmopolitan Hotel in Las Vegas.
Totally.
But like the one where the Phoenix scene takes place is in the red room with like the weird projection screen, and like there's people in nets, like in like conical nets for no reason. Just great choices. Just everyone was making their best choices when they showed up that day.
Very weird. Very weird. So we cut from Phoenix response to May doing a second level assessment on Zed. And this is where she establishes that he is a mutant by analyzing his DNA. And she says he's second or third generation, and then says that he is vastly superior to anyone there. So he is not a savage who is less advanced. He's actually far more advanced than they are. And we know that Arthur Freeman has been doing experiments. So we didn't, the Eternals didn't know, and we didn't know the extent, but he has clearly been genetically engineering. And Zed said that his parents were chosen to be able to breed. Not everybody gets to breed. So it's established exactly what's happening here. So we go from there to the downfall of Friend. Consuela gets pissed because Friend is using Zed to help him do his chores. And interestingly, it's established that they're supposed to be egalitarian. They're all supposed to take their turns washing dishes and cleaning up and that kind of stuff. And it becomes so dramatic that they hold a vote.
Vote. Yes, vote! Give your votes.
And I just want to talk about this. There's a lot of, first of all, how do we get the facial expressions and like the hand signals and stuff incorporated into our voting system?
I love that. Like, it's so fucking weird. Like this.
I was really trying to determine what meant yes and what meant no.
Oh yeah.
It seemed to switch like frequently during the whole thing.
It's not like super. I don't think it was. Some of them weren't that advanced. I don't think it was like so. Basically, like one person votes no, and it's just like no. Like sort of does like says no while inhaling. It's like sort of like those like cultures. Like there's some Scandinavian cultures in which like, and I think Irish too, in which like they say yes on an inhale. They're like yes. Like that's like sort of like the yeah.
I'm gonna start doing that.
So in the end, there's a lot of finger pointing. Friend, they attempt to take Friend to second level. To
Friend doesn't want to go to second level. Don't take Friend to fucking second level if he doesn't want to go.
No! I will not go to second level with you. I will. No!
What do we think? What does that mean? Like, because it's like we should meditate on this, right? It's like so. It's like they're gonna have like some group meditative experience,
which means they have to be aligned, right? They all have to be aligned and don't let out any negative auras.
So it's the same thing that like the first guy, the first Holmes, George
Satan,
also gave off that bad aura.
Mm-hmm.
Do we like Friend? That's the other thing.
I like Friend. I mean, I think.
Do we? Go ahead.
I think he's kind of a douche. I mean, like, I wouldn't want to like,
hang out with him.
Friends definitely sent some questionable things to the group thread. Like,
Right.
Friend is like,
Right.
you can't really trust Friend in the long run. He's definitely going to say some shit that he shouldn't have. That's going to show up the wrong way in the Slack channel. But I think in general, he kind of had sort of a fun vibe, and he wasn't taking it too seriously, and everyone else was. So I appreciate him for that.
Yeah.
Well, I will say on a rewatch, knowing what you know at the end of the movie, it changes the entire perception.
Friends on a different project.
Does it? Now I gotta...
He refuses to go to second level. They decide to make him renegade, and they blast him mentally. At which point Zed takes off, and he runs outside, and he goes to the edge of Vortex 4 to the periphery shield, which is great as he's sort of rubbing his face against the shield. And that was a cool practical effect of a piece of plastic or glass or whatever that is to be that barrier. But he also signals in a distance to some of his brutals that are out there. So this is the first time you have an inkling that there's a little more going on.
There's a plan of some sort. Yeah, exactly.
That's right, because these dudes show up just sort of okay. And that's the other thing they sort of play with throughout this movie is the level of information the audience has, and you think you're kind of on Zed's level, or at least I thought I was kind of on Zed's level from the beginning, kind of understanding all of this, but there's stuff that he kept from us, there's stuff that he kept from
himself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, totally. That was, I like that, even if it didn't quite work, if that makes sense. You don't immediately pick up on all of it, but I still like that they were kind of going there.
For me, I think that unfolding is almost the most important thing of the film. The fact that it does sort of unfold in that way, even though the execution of the film is so kind of buffoonish, that aspect of it is really, really well done in my opinion. So Zed runs to the Renegades, and he goes to find Friend. And Friend says that the human race has plagued this pretty planet for far too long. And Zed goes right back at him. You stink of despair. Fight back. Fight for death if that's what you want. And this is where Friend introduces him to the concept of the tabernacle, which is the Alexa crystal ring that everybody is wearing and talking to, and is the source of information and knowledge, and the immortality. And he is introduced to the founder, who is the guy who created immortality in the first place and created the community. And he says that he needs to go to May. So Zed goes to see May, and then she begins to go through his memories. And to me, I love this scene because it's like an improv exercise. Every day I murder brutals until one day when I saw a face in a window. And so he goes into the library, and someone is in the library who teaches him to read, and he reads all the books.
Right.
I thought that was kind of cool. Just even the city, the fact that the other brutals wear regular clothes, seemingly. They don't give you
the
much.
People that they're hunted. The people that are hunted. Yeah. There's some. There's some story there that basically they hired Irish travelers to play all of the the people.
Oh, I think I read that. It was just random extras that they really liked or whatever.
Yeah. The Irish travelers are as Wikipedia defines it, a nomadic indigenous ethnic group whose members maintain a set of traditions. They are predominantly English speaking. So though many speak Shelta. So anyway, they are, although they are often referred to as gypsies, Irish travelers are not genetically related to the Romani gypsies. Anyway, so they're an ethnic group within Ireland, and they hired them to play the folks being hunted, because it was just we need some folks who will one of these folks gets run over by a horse.
Yeah.
Literally the horse tramples his head, and they just keep shooting. They just keep it rolling.
Looks good. Oh wait, the gate was open.
Back to one. Put your head back down in the sand.
No, but I read that the director was these are the best extras I've ever.
I read that quote.
Oh my gosh.
They all showed up on time.
Yeah.
They liked the food. This
wild shit.
A+ would work with Irish travelers.
A++ would run over with a horse again. Yeah. May is probing his mind, right? And it's this, they're under a parachute. that's like lit with semi-transparent and stuff. And as she's digging in, there's one book that he read that he can't say the name of, and she keeps probing and going deeper. He's also describing, killing Arthur, and also the fact that Zardoz had forced them to switch from killing brutals to growing wheat. And he was really offended by that. He wanted to be a killer, and they wanted him to grow wheat, which we learned earlier was to feed the apathetics who couldn't care for themselves. But we have the reveal. The book that he was reading is nothing else other than The Wizard of Oz, Zardoz.
Come on, man.
That was a good reveal. I like that.
I will say I had forgotten that was the reality. Me too. Having seen the movie like 20 years ago. So I was like, okay, all right. I forgot. You got me again.
Yeah.
Well, like that, plus the the meta layer. I mean, again, not super deep, but the fact of what the book is based on, and like just sort of like
totally
opening that curtain again. And I thought it was cute, I guess. Yeah. I don't know if cute is the right word, but I liked her reveal.
No, I think cute is the right word.
Destroying your reality with the Wizard of Oz is definitely cute.
It's a big act of inference, though, from him, right? Like, he goes from being illiterate to, like, understanding, wait a minute.
No,
there's some clever wordplay here.
Like, when he realized it?
He didn't realize that piece until that moment, you think?
It seemed like it. That's the way he read The Wizard of Oz. That. He gets that, like, there's, like, a deception. And then, like, he's like, whoa. And, like, there's a deception here because Zardoz is, like, a contraction of The Wizard of Oz.
Right. So back in the real world, May is very turned on by all the feelings that he has, and so the two of them start making out.
And this is like the sheet tunnel scene, right? This is like
right.
where she's like got him in her sheet tent.
Correct. The sheet parachute.
The parachute tent, like it's like in preschool, like when you'd play like under the parachute.
Yeah, that was the best.
That was the best day.
Sit inside like once a month. Yeah. Yes, totally.
Once a month? We got it once a year.
I had. Oh, okay.
You had it dialed. You got like parachute day dialed. We're doing preschool interviews right now for our son, and that's my only question: is how often?
Like, where's the parachute?
How often is parachute day?
How often? That's right.
So Consuela shows up, and she puts a kibosh on that. Says that May's going to be aged 50 years, and then we have the tug of war scene between Zed and Consuela. And this is amazing because they're doing tug of war, and then meanwhile she's like using her psychic powers on him.
Right.
So Connery's eye work in this scene, the kind of cross-eyed / pain, I thought was absolutely hilarious.
It's like she's hitting him with like gas or something like that. Like she's sort of just like subtly like pumping out like carbon monoxide or something because he's just kind of like whoa. Yeah. And then he comes back around. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I don't know.
That would be hard to like fake that fight. Like even like fighting in the movies, there's like those can be difficult to fake. But when you're like just pretending to take punches by like some woman glaring at you, that's like a tough. I don't know. I props to Sean Connery there.
He does a much better job selling it than the other scene of psychic violence that we've seen where there's like two people doing like a Flappy Bird at each other. Like they're just like...
Yeah.
Like some kind of weird, like
everybody dance now.
Some kind of funky chicken. So he does a better job than those folks do. That was weird. This movie's just full of just so many fucking weird details. Like just like again, like on the day, I just don't like. What was the direction there? Like you two are in a psychic fight. Okay, what does that look like? It looks like
obviously it means flapping your wings.
I do want to say, if you want to see crazy fights that don't make sense, check out Tenet, which has.
Did you see it?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, what should I see this?
Yes,
risk your life to go see it.
You should definitely see it at the time of your choosing. Like,
there's not enough New York Times reporters who have COVID already. Like you need to go.
Yeah, seriously. Oh my god.
All right, so this ends with Consuela blinding Zed, and so he is sent by May to Avalo. And Avalo is sort of like this mystical leader within the group, and she'd been referencing some mysteries, and again, it was almost like play-like. There were little interludes that she did that kind of moved things along. But she describes, first of all, she says he has to commit to kill her in the future. She then explains what is happening, how they got to this point.
The world was dying. We took all that was good and made an oasis here. We few, the rich, the powerful, the clever, cut ourselves off to guard the knowledge and treasures of civilization as the world plunged into a dark age.
So that's kind of the layout.
That's kind of a thing. And it's also revealed that they tried to go to space and there was nothing to go see there. Like space was a dead end. Like they went to go visit other stars, but it was like,
I like that. I liked that, that sort of, usually space is like the final frontier.
Yeah, they're like, no, it's just some bullshit.
And they're like, no, there's absolutely nothing. I really like that.
It's just full of
Also, do you
litter.
get just a bunch of rocks? That reminded me a little of Demolition Man in the sense where they sort of are like the future, everything was going to shit, and we sort of had to we had to sacrifice X and in order to sort of keep our society going. And
also they had to sacrifice sex. Another movie in which one of the things that they lost was doing it.
But they had the shells.
They had the shells.
Three seashells and the halos.
Yeah.
Murder, death, kill.
That's a good movie.
That's a good movie. We should just watch that now.
You should honestly
agree.
But I mean, that again, I think is where you get into like sort of the hippie commentary, which is just like, oh yeah, it's a bunch of fucking Trustafarians who like want to be like hippies and like drop out of society and like, just do drugs and have like free love or whatever. But like, what's that going to fucking get you? Like, you just live in this, bullshit commune.
That's right. That's right. Well, so Zed runs, and we're starting to make our way here towards the final showdown. So Zed goes back out to the shield again, and this time his homeboys are right on the other side of the shield, and he does some real aggressive sign language, like he's really getting into it and doing his moves.
Looks like dancing.
He's now being hunted, and he hides among the apathetics. And the woman that he tossed into the hay earlier, so she's apathetic again, or somewhat apathetic again, but she sees him. She comes out of it. She tastes the salt off his
sweat.
neck. And then,
I forgot about that.
Sean Connery's sweat is the tonic for apathy.
Right.
If you're feeling blue and you just don't know where to go to, taste Sean Connery's sweat.
Sometimes you want to go. Well, so interestingly,
it tracks.
When she tastes it, you get the bell sound, which is associated with the tabernacle. And then as each of the other people tastes it, and then they start kissing to pass it back and forth. Each time you have that. So you have a sense that something from the tabernacle is being passed along through Zed.
I didn't pick that.
That's
up.
an interesting element.
That's good.
I got that today. So as all of them are making out,
I got those notes today.
No, I watched it again today. But so as you do have this great scene as they're all making out, and the subtitles just say "moaning intensifies."
Oh my god!
I should have watched it with the subtitles.
That's amazing. So that's kind of like a Dune-ish type scene, because that's like sort of like the scene. That's like the taking of the water of the life. Yeah, like, and there's a scene in Dune where the Reverend Mother transmutes the water of life, and there's basically what's described as an orgy, and there's this shared consciousness, and where they all kind of taste of this liquid that's like been modified by the Reverend Mother.
Mike, I can give you the direct reference in your brain. Zion Rave.
Zion Rave.
Okay, I understand fully right now.
Yeah. So that's like kind of what this is too. Zion Rave. Sweat.
So Zed continues to be on the run now, and he goes to the Renegades to try and find Friend. Here he is forced to wear a bride's dress.
That's a wild, again.
I forgot about that too.
Was that in the script?
That was crazy.
He didn't want to do it.
It wasn't even, did he not? I can only imagine.
Yeah, there was like, he was like, no, not
thing.
chill. I don't do that.
I mean, it wasn't even like it was a pretty like frumpy frock too. It was like very
wasn't
like
sexy.
I think it had like a collar, which is,
But his guns were huge. Like they were definitely big in that.
He was like, I don't want to wear it, and they were like, $200,000 says you do.
Do you want to get paid?
So he gets picked up by May, who says she can help him, and she offers if he will inseminate all of her followers, in exchange, they will teach him outside time because they don't have time. And so then you have this scene of them, basically him sleeping with all of the women and like light projections onto their bodies and like the room spinning around the camera and stuff. I got a real Holy Mountain vibe out of that.
I was gonna say, I think this is where it gets pretty Yodo-esque. Is like it just becomes very like lights and colors and not much theory.
That's right.
I gotta rewatch that now.
Oh man, I bought that when we did Jodorowsky's Dune with Steven Scarlatta, who was the producer.
I was gonna ask you, do I need to watch that movie?
Oh God, yes.
I've never seen it.
That's
watch
so
the
good.
movie and then listen to the episode.
Yeah, it's really good.
All right. That's my weekend.
So we do have an important bit of exposition here, and that is where they establish that the tabernacle was created. Again, we met the founder earlier. They erased the memory of the tabernacle so nobody could destroy it. And each of the Eternals has a crystal planted in their head that joins them with the tabernacle. And Avalo produces a huge crystal and says, look into this. You will see lines running into the future. You will make insight jumps. When you can see into this crystal, then you will be ready. And he looks into it and he sees only my own perplexity. Knowledge is not enough. So I thought that was really cool, establishing more of like how the tech works, the tabernacle, and the transmission of that.
Are you saying that's like a sort of indication of like, is it a specific point saying knowledge is not enough here? Like there's more to how to understand this, or was that just the part that he was at? Sorry, go ahead.
I think you're absolutely right. And we'll get to this in just a second when he has the showdown with the tabernacle. But I think the assertion is this isn't about pure knowledge. This is about personal understanding and alignment of consciousness.
Got it.
Maybe.
Got it. No, I buy that. So
he goes on his way out and he goes through a house of mannequins. And one of these mannequins is definitely going to be alive. I love that was a total homage in Blade Runner to this.
Oh yeah, I guess that's true. I don't.
Right,
do you think?
Chris?
Do you think Ridley Scott was influenced by Zardoz?
100%.
Oh, wow. God.
Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't make me feel better.
I don't know. I'm basing that on nothing, but I bet he is.
There must be other going through a house of mannequin scenes, right? Probably. It's like sort of a Enter the Dragon thing too, except like right.
So the cool part here, Arthur pops. He comes up and he stabs him, but he stabs him with a stage knife. It's a fake.
Yeah, that was
right.
Yeah. Which goes back to like the whole sort of like it's a play.
Right.
Yeah.
This is theater.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally.
And so he says, "Revenge. Now we're even." And then he quotes T.S. Eliot on Lazarus, and he tosses him the crystal ball, and he says that when he can see it, he'll be ready again. And so this is the part where he sees Consuela walking up behind him with a knife to kill him, and he basically stops her, almost mind intimidating her. And she says, "In hunting you, I've become you." And he says, "When you spend too much time chasing dragons, you become a dragon." Nietzsche.
It's so fucking weird. Like the movie, like who, like how does the?
I love how he was just like, yeah, that's Nietzsche.
Yeah.
He like suddenly has got like all these references. He like knows like T.S. Eliot. He knows Nietzsche. Like good Lord, he's just
Zed
the
is
worst.
the Ubermensch.
He's the worst at this point. He's just very tedious.
I love it.
So she seemingly out of nowhere offers her life and her love, and he accepts it.
Yeah.
And then he looks inside the ball and says that he's ready. And so this is where we have the showdown with the tabernacle. And he says, speaking to the tabernacle,
brain emissions refract low wavelength laser light passing through the crystal in the brain. They're a code sent to you for interpretation and storage. Yes or no?
Not permitted.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Sean Connery really has to deliver some dialogue in the last act of this movie. Like he's got to deliver T.S. Eliot, Nietzsche, this fucking low level, like, like he's basically doing like lost verses from like Dr. Octagon. And then he's got the all-time line in the movie. get inside my aura. Like,
yes.
So he's really got some stunning.
It's called
range.
That is called range.
Subtlety. So he is sucked by the tabernacle because it knows that it has his number. So it takes him inside in order to defeat him. And to the point that you made earlier, like this is like a giant 2001 ripoff in the Hall of Mirrors and lots of noise and stress and all that stuff. And so for me, thank God Star Wars ended that whole genre of movies that we're never going to do it as well as 2001. But he shoots the mirror. He shoots his own mirror image. He sees his image. He kills himself. He's Buddha or whatever. And he comes out. Consuela wakes him with a kiss. And this is the stay close to me within my aura.
Stay within my aura. I've just fucked a crystal. I know the way forward. No, because there's this whole thing where he has to penetrate the crystal. I mean, like, it's very weird. It's very weird.
Well, so you had in that scene directly before that, you had all of the Eternals coming in and smashing all the statues up and breaking things down. So he extends his aura, he holds his hand out, and he begins walking them out.
And it's Tenet.
Tenet. Everybody else is going backwards in time, and he is moving forwards through time, which was totally badass.
Take your shit back, Christopher Nolan. It was done in 1974 for literally like $400,000 and like, some Guinness, like a crate of Guinness.
I guarantee you Christopher Nolan has seen Zardoz.
I guarantee you, yes. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I'm sure this is where the idea came from.
Is it pretty looking, Tenet?
Gorgeous.
Like, is it nice to look at? Okay.
Gorgeous.
Look how sensual Matt said that. It's gorgeous. That's just the vibe that Zardoz puts in him, though. It's just like everything becomes
everything is like sensuous parachutes everywhere.
Very languid. Yeah. Sensuous parachutes. That was the original working title of Zardoz, was Sensuous Parachutes.
That's right. That's my new album coming out next year. So he takes the tabernacle to the founder, and he said the founder admits that the vortex was against nature, so nature needed a battle of wills to kill us. So she made you. We forced the hand of evolution. And then he dies. It's slightly confusing because I guess you're saying nature's controlling Arthur Feynman, who produced Zed, who then destroyed them. Or just that nature always gets the last laugh, I guess, is the ultimate message.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Matrix or like Battlestar Galactica of the system wasn't balanced, and so therefore all of this has happened before, and we're just we had to correct it, and you were the thing that was needed to fix the system that was unbalanced, and so it all works.
But without any Jimi Hendrix covers.
Yeah, exactly. Thank God.
So Zed gives May the crystal, and he says to take it out and ride through the wall. And she just takes off with her followers. And then Arthur's saying, hey.
It was I who gave you access to the stone. It was I. I bred you. I led you.
And I have looked into the face of the force that put the idea in your mind. You're bred and led yourself.
That's an own. That is an epic own.
Yeah.
I looked inside the he says I looked inside the force that put the idea in your mind.
Yes, of breeding him. So nature.
Was he just trying to reverse the like any dominion you think you have over me is fucking total bullshit because I'm like seeing way beyond that sort of thing?
Yeah,
yes.
It's basically like what's her face in Labyrinth to David Bowie at the end, where he's like, "You have no power over me."
Right.
And
right.
And so I love Arthur says, "We've all been used and abused and amused."
Yeah.
Like,
then
okay, guys.
Then it just becomes like fucking jokey times. Like it's really it's late. I think everyone realized the movie was like running long, and it's just like we got to get this shit on the road. Like just get some jokes, like da 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 da, and like close it out.
Yeah. And so in the closeout, Avalo performs her final lamentation. She looks at Zed, who had promised to kill her, and he can't. He says, all past remnants of myself are gone, and she's shot anyway because the Brutals are here. And so now you have this incredible, killing spree with the Brutals just shooting the hell out of everybody and slicing their throats and all of that. So it's a great scene, and the music begins to really swell as that is happening, which I liked a lot.
Oh yeah, that was Beethoven's
Seventh
Symphony.
It's really
Allegretto.
good. Yeah, it's really good. They use that pretty well. I have no idea what the end of the movie means. Again, it sort of like gave me Battlestar. It sort of gave me Battlestar vibes, where it's just like, oh, these are like the first people, and they're like Adam and Eve, and like their child is the first new human. I don't know, maybe.
Right.
Yeah, that was. I was waiting for you guys to understand that and help me get it, because I just didn't quite.
Well, yeah. So everyone is killed except for Zed and Consuela, who escape, and they go out and they go into a cave. And I guess it is, as nature intended, you sit down in a spot and you don't move until your kid goes to college, and then you die with your skeleton holding your spouse's skeleton hand in a seated position.
That's how I'm going to go out.
That's love. It's better than dying in a fight at IKEA or something like that, which is like the other way to go out in a marriage.
You raise a good point. I mean, to me, that's almost, I guess it doesn't really matter, right? May's gone, so she's going to take her group. She's impregnated with Zed's business and all of her followers. So they're going to go do human evolution off there. And Zed is maybe removing himself from that system and saying, for me, I don't know, love is enough. Love and my family is enough. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm starting a new life outside of this fucking bullshit inside my own aura.
And he's not. Yeah, right. Like this is their own little. They exist in that world and not in some sort of. I mean, the other pre-cave life for Zed was just sort of being part of either a system where you're like on the slave level or being oppressed, right? Or you're up at the top and like sort of pulling all the strings around this. So maybe that's him just sort of saying, I don't want to be part of any of this.
No hierarchy.
Yeah, right.
It's just me and my lady. And my large adult son.
In a holocracy or whatever?
In a holocracy, yeah. We have a holocracy. We have committee meetings twice weekly. And
what is the name of the conference room in that cave?
I think, I fucked a crystal A. So great, man. I think they really just didn't know. I think they just realized that, look, we're at about an hour and a half. We got to cut. This movie's got to end.
I think you raise a good point, though, Mike. Like, he could have said, listen, May, I'm the boss now. Let's go. And I'm going to lead this new thing. But he does choose to take himself out of that and say, you go do your thing. I've done my part.
I wonder what the son, what becomes of the son, I guess, is the other question. But.
Yeah. Do they establish, do you think, like why Consuela comes back to him?
You mean the first time when she comes and and confesses her love for him or whatever?
Yeah. What is that based on? Nothing, right? Just like animal magnets, just like Sean Connery's like hirsute appearance.
Right.
God, we didn't even talk about the body hair in this film.
That was like last week we promised we were going to talk about body hair quite a bit and like how what a solid Sean Connery does for those of us of the hairier variety of dude. Which we said that it was good that you are a guest because
it's pretty well established that everyone
you're a furry gentleman.
That's right.
Are you going mankini for Halloween?
Yeah, you're a furry gentleman.
Lay it out here first.
I don't know. You know what? I mean, I'm not going to rule it out. Actually,
don't rule it out. Do your next TV hit just like in that outfit.
Oh my God. CNBC in like a leather red mankini.
Now with a reaction to Uber's latest earnings is, wait a minute. What is that?
We need to
cut.
Off the air. Yeah.
It's a pandemic, but it's not that bad.
Right.
Oh yeah, I know. I think it was great. I am not going as that either. It did give me. I aspire to be in that shape. I feel like I could get to that level of physique. Like it's not like unobtainable. Like you just have to. I just have to try a little harder.
I think that gives hope to the potential dad bods of us
exactly
out there, you know.
Yeah,
because he's drinking too every night. Clearly, like Sean Connery, that's not like a sober body. Like he's clearly like whatever is in the Borman cupboards, he's helping himself to. And it's just like shepherd's pie and a pint of Guinness every night. You can do that.
Oh God,
I mean,
I want that life.
I want that life too. Let's go to County Wicklow. Let's go to County Wicklow and do a reshoot.
Reading poetry. Yeah.
Seriously. Jesus.
Get inside my aura.
I'm not fucking any crystals.
No, I'm not fucking crystals. Well,
principled stance. Mike, final thoughts on Zardoz? Anything we missed, or any other reflections you have? What's your overall rating on this film?
I actually really did like it. I was struggling a lot with it to, like, there's a way in which you look at this and sort of explain what every part of it means and kind of say it's a metaphor for X thing or whatever social issues that are going on in the day. And then, but I think the most fun I had with it was when I stopped trying to nail that down and just sort of like let some of the wackiness be what it was.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
For
and
sure.
Like that. And like, I don't know, I honestly don't know the director's intention, the writer's intention, but like, perhaps they sort of, I kind of sign on to Goldman's theory that like perhaps that's kind of where they ended up. Maybe they kind of like started floating off into not all of this has to be like perfectly ascribed into meaning or something. So I think I think you have to be in a certain headspace to go for that, you know, like sort of crack open the brownies or something before we start watching. But it was definitely I liked it. I honestly I would recommend it. Not even fully ironically.
Yeah, that's good. That's high praise.
That makes sense.
That is pretty high praise. I don't know if it's justified by the text, but I appreciate. I'm happy for you that the movie spoke to you on this level. It's an interesting question of what drug is this movie intended for. Like, right. I don't think.
I was totally sober, by the way. But now I'm curious.
I had one beer.
I'm a 44-year-old dad. I'm totally sober all the time now. But like I think weed is not quite strong enough for this movie. I think this is an acid movie, really, because like with all of the mirrors and like crystal shit and like just kind of how disassociative it is. Like I feel it's pretty much an LSD movie, but I think it's like an LSD movie from someone who like doesn't really have like isn't really a drug person. I think it's like more of an indictment of like drug culture or something. Like that's again, right. I think like this movie is like a counter-counterculture movie.
No, you're close, Jason. I think acid is probably too much for this film. I think you're looking for Raid 5.
Raid 5, yeah, that's a callback joke to an episode that this podcast. Is
this a new drug?
Yeah, exactly.
I need to discover?
Yeah, we're the 107th most popular podcast in Costa Rica for television and film.
Yes,
and all of the people there know exactly what Raid 5 is.
That callback, yeah, they're like high-fiving. And Jason, any other thoughts on Zardoz? And what did you take away for Dune 2021?
I think. Well, one thing we didn't talk about is Charlotte Rampling is a tremendous actress. Like I really was. I really was excited to see her in this movie. And like I think she's just tremendous. Like she does like a really good sort of half eye kind of like super intense, but like very cool vibe. And I think she's perfect for the Reverend Mother. I think in an earlier, if she was like in the Lynch Dune, she would have been an amazing Lady Jessica. Yeah, like she's got that Bene Gesserit poise and like super intensity, super intelligence, like, you know, that I think you need. So I'm pretty excited that she's in this movie. It made me want to see other Charlotte Rampling movies. Yeah, so I thought that was a good takeaway. I think it's good. I think also I was thinking a lot just about like sort of the evolution of science fiction, where if you put 2001 out of it, because that's like such a very specific, that's like my favorite movie, and like it's such a specific triumph, and that like this exists in this weird pocket of sci-fi before the vocabulary of sci-fi existed. And then we've sort of been operating in that same vocabulary of sci-fi for a very long time since. And it'll be interesting. And Villeneuve in Arrival and Blade Runner sort of is establishing a new language for science fiction that's like not entirely ungrounded like this, but like is less it's more, you know, it's more sparse, it's more it's more, you know, monochromatic in a lot of ways, and it's less like flashy laser stuff. And so it makes me excited for like there to be a new science fiction language that maybe
Visual
we can tap
language.
into for like a big epic like Dune. So yeah.
Nice.
Awesome. So I really love this movie, even though it has a lot of major problems. Like the execution is extremely problematic, and just really silly for no reason.
It's a silly movie.
Totally.
But the first time I saw it, the way it unfolded, the overall, like the just sort of like the twists and the turns, I always thought like this could be done. Like if you taking out the mankini would go so far towards making this a better movie, right? And there's like just not having it based in the 70s with sexuality and drug induced, all that stuff. Like you could really make a much harder version of Zardoz that would be really cool. So I really enjoyed it for that, and I love the fact that it took great kind of risks of making something really bold and bizarre, even though much of the execution falls woefully short. I will say, Boorman made this after failing to make Lord of the Rings. He had the rights, and he tried to make a much more adult oriented version of Lord of the Rings with more sex and violence, and that ended up not happening. He did channel 7 years after this. He made one of my all-time favorite films growing up as a kid, Excalibur.
Oh man, that movie's trash too.
No, that's definitely wrong. Excalibur, much stronger execution. It still has it has a better version of humor. It still has some of the kind of violence and stuff. But that's an awesome film. If you haven't seen it, you should definitely.
I haven't. No, I got to look.
Yeah, you should check that out.
Oh, don't get your hopes up.
Just tell me which drug to take before.
Right. Send me Raid 5. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that one. Like it's interesting. There's this era of films in which people
Gabriel Byrne, Liam Neeson, Patrick Stewart.
Yeah,
they're good actors.
They're good actors for sure.
Helen Mirren.
Yeah.
Helen Mirren.
Anal Nathrak Uthva Spetha Dochiel Dienve. Come on, man.
Oh my God.
What are you talking
You're doing
about?
a lot right now.
The charm of making. That movie is, dude. Anyways, great movie.
Great.
Okay, so we have, Mike, one last piece of business. Every episode, we cast Tilda Swinton in any role of your choosing. So if you were to choose who you would have Tilda Swinton play, who would it be?
There's probably a way better answer, but the first thing that popped into my mind was Jules Winfield, Samuel L. Jackson's character in Pulp Fiction.
That's a good answer, but we're talking specifically in Zardoz. I love that. I love that fucking answer, though. That's a great answer. I love the idea of actually, you don't need to give another answer. The answer
I was like, wait a minute.
Who would Tilda Swinton play in Zardoz is Jules from Pulp Fiction. Correct. Good job.
Okay.
That's
well
it.
done.
Okay. Thank you.
My answer is going to be
Did not see that coming.
Yoda from The Empire Strikes Back. No, my answer. I think obviously I think there's a lot of similarities between Tilda and Charlotte Rampling that are kind of interesting. But I also like the idea of her playing the friend role. I think the friend role.
That was what I thought. Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something kind of whimsical and odd about that. I actually think she could be Arthur as well. That idea of being kind of like a trickster.
Doing something better with the Arthur role would be great. Yeah.
Get her with the painted on beard. Could look quite good.
Isn't she in like multiple roles in all of Bong Joon-ho's films? Or am I making that?
No, you're right.
Maybe
you're right.
Okay.
No, yeah, she plays multiple roles in Snowpiercer and Okja. She's yeah.
She was great in that.
I'm gonna go back and watch that.
Okay, that brings us to letters.
Oh, great.
You can reach us letters@dunepod.com. You can just send us a regular old letter. You can record a voice memo and attach it and send it to letters@dunepod.com and we will play it. Or you can just call us and leave us a voicemail, 415-534-5211. First email is from longtime listener, multiple-time writer, Bryce Kelly.
Oh, great.
What's up, Bryce?
Bryce says, I really like the hexology episodes. I've just finished the start of Children of Dune. I don't recall if y'all ever commented on the Dune audiobook narrator. Is this sped up when you replay certain parts of it in the pod? He sounds like C-3PO injected with testosterone and meth.
That sounds awesome.
I started going down a rabbit hole to figure out who this was, and then I stumbled on one version where they had different actors voice characters, but did strange things like using James Earl Jones to voice the cold, calculating Baron, and yet another actor when he was the bumbler out in public, and they seem to do this with a few characters. Anyway, looking forward to the rest of season 2. So I listened to audiobooks, including Super Pumped, The Inside Story of Uber by Mike Isaac.
Oh, hell yeah.
I listen to audiobooks at 1.75 when I'm running.
That's fast.
Wow.
It's fast. I retain it. But so, like when I was listening to the Mueller Report, 18 hours running around Phoenix Lake.
Oh my God, you're just a crazy person.
You gotta like condense it.
That is deranged.
So I was sampling them on the pod at 1.75. So I will either slow it down or we'll just talk it out instead of dropping it, the audio quotes.
Someone else has complained about this too. First of all, always a pleasure to hear from Bryce Kelly, one of my first bosses in the world of product management and a great friend. And second of all, like the issue is that if you're listening to our podcast itself at like a normal sped up rate, like I listen to a podcast at like 1.2. So if you're listening to like a podcast at like 1.2 and then like the 1.7 drops in, you get whatever, 1.2 times 1.7. And like,
you're in trouble.
You are getting C-3PO on meth and cocaine or whatever.
Testosterone and meth.
Yeah.
Am I weird that I listen to everything at
1?
You're a writer, so you're like respectful of the source material, and you probably
that's actually, I don't think you're that far off.
Yeah.
I think I like never really mess with it. I'm like one of those, I'm like Lynch, where he's like, I don't want you to be able to skip chapters in my DVD.
Right.
Like you have to watch it from the beginning.
Yeah, I'm like a fucking savage. Like I just like I like read like every third sentence when I read stuff. I'm just like, what? Yeah, I got it. And my problem is I can't do audiobooks for anything but nonfiction. Like because like I don't get like the quality of the prose when I'm like listening to audiobooks. So
no, that I'm right there with you, I think.
So I will say we have coming up towards the end of season 2, we have Cal Henderson, CTO of Slack. He's coming on to do Drive, Ryan Gosling's awesome movie. I think Cal, I want to say he does all of his audiobooks at 3.0.
Oh, come on.
It's either 2.5 or 3.0. I'll clear it up with him, but yeah, I don't know how you do that.
That's
such like inhuman.
Cal's a great guy. So this is like a general indictment, but that's like such like a Silicon Valley like tech bro thing. It was like I listen to all my books at 3.0. I don't eat. I only drink salt tea, and like I sleep. I do metaphasic sleep.
I am at level 2 all the time.
I just live in level 2 is for noobs.
So I will say for everyone who's considering listening to Dune on audiobook, the audiobook versions are all actually very good. They have most of them that are available on Audible. They have in the first couple books a mix of narrators. The primary narrator is Simon Vance, and then they have other narrators that come up in unpredictable ways. How often they come up. As the series goes through the 6 books, all the rest of the narrators fall away and Simon Vance basically takes over the whole thing. And he's by far the best part of it. So it actually is a good way to check him out. So recommended.
That's great.
Nice.
All right. Our final letter is from Josh Wakamo.
What's up, Josh?
And he says, fan mail, thoughts on Dr. Manhattan. Hi, Dune Pod. I've been really enjoying your various movie reviews and what they mean for the Dune movie. I know it's been talked about to death, but I was curious if you all had any opinions, hot takes on how Dr. Manhattan's omniscience was handled and depicted. Out of all pop media, his experience seems the most similar to Paul and Leto's. Keep up the good work, JW.
That's great.
Thank you, Josh.
What a great question.
That's a good question. Are we talking about
comic, movie,
book?
series?
Yeah, right.
Let's do the TV series because that's the most recent. Without spoilers.
Oh man.
I mean, I think it's interesting. Like, so one of the theories in Dune is that because Paul embraces his present powers, he basically loses touch with his humanity. It's ultimately his downfall is like that he fully runs with prescience. He ends up becoming trapped by time. Now, it's worth noting, of course, in Dune that there's many limits. His prescience is not the same as Dr. Manhattan's. Dr. Manhattan lives outside of time. Like he experiences like time as a manifold in which like now is happening, like now is happening simultaneously with what happened, 10 years ago and what's happening, 10 years from now. Paul, the way that Herbert's described his prescience is it's basically like floating on an ocean and like occasionally the wave crests and you can see farther and then the wave recedes and you don't see as far. And there's many conflicting or, deconstructing influences that can cause the waves to like not allow you to see as far. In Dune Messiah, there's this concept of the Dune Tarot where people are basically using a tarot deck to like do their own fortune telling. And those like acts of mini prescience are messing up the whole program. And there are other prescient characters that Paul can't see their past of because they have their own kind of existence within the time wave. So it's a very different concept than Dr. Manhattan's. But the similarity is that by embracing prescience, you sacrifice your humanity. It's like the thing that like allows you, that makes it impossible for you to really have human relationships because if you know that your lover's going to die, like you can't, it's like, and if you've already, in Dr. Manhattan's case, you've already experienced that character dying.
Or yourself.
Yeah, or yourself. Like
right.
there's not the same urgency around any one given moment.
Yeah, I think both of them ultimately reflect on the idea of once you have that pure prescience, whether it's manifold or straight line, the way that Paul has it, you don't actually have any more choice. It's similar to Arrival. What has happened is going to happen, and you don't really have a way to change it, whether you see it coming or not.
Yeah, great question.
That's really good,
Joss. Please, keep writing in. We love hearing from you guys. We definitely appreciate that. Mike, what do you want to plug? What do you got going on? What are you up to?
Oh God!
Give a shout out for Bruna or something work related or whatever.
She was in here. She was just in here. I was petting her as we were doing the pod. I don't know, man. You guys got to tell. I'm trying to figure out what my next thing is. Should I write another book? Should I quit journalism and go into the woods and?
Yes, go into the woods, Mike.
Level 2 Super Saiyan.
Yeah.
Should I? No, but things are good. I'm just like cranking away on Facebook coverage and
much needed.
Much needed.
Yeah, it's a fun, crazy beat.
Good article today. In fact,
thank you.
Yeah,
the political ad stuff constantly. But I'll figure it out. I'm in the meantime I'm at the Times and you can see my stuff. And if you don't follow my insane Twitter, then you're welcome to at Mike Isaac.
Subscribe to the New York Times, for God's sake. You can we can say that. You should do that. Support Mike and his colleagues.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to do the good fights.
That's right.
Yeah.
Journalism is good.
Journalism's good. Give it your dollars.
Journalism is definitely good. Yeah. Let's bring some level 2 through journalism.
Thank you for having me on, though. This was fun. I'm going to go back and listen to your back catalog and then start geeking out on... You guys have good taste in films. That's the other thing. Like, not every podcast person does, but this is good.
Well, I had a couple of people this week say, like, oh, no, you're in trouble now. Like, the podcast has to go for another year. You're never going to make it.
Oh.
We got plenty of shit. Don't worry.
Also, like I said earlier, this one was kind of like a pull. I really wanted to do Zardoz and Charlotte being in it was a great excuse. I had a moment. I woke up the other morning and I bolted upright and I thought, we can actually watch any movie we want. Like, if we decide it's relevant to you relative to Dune or even not, we can do it.
We're going to go back and do it. We're going to do Lady Hawk. God damn it.
Definitely.
And then we'll just like sort of, we'll also have like an episode where we're just like the top 10 Gurney Halleck Balasset songs as like, like our just like the top 10 songs in the Dune universe. A review of various toys that have been made for Dune.
Well, I do want to do the board game. I think doing the board game and some of that stuff will be handy. But
there's a Dune board game.
Yeah, we can. That could be our Twitch episode. We could like live stream us playing the board game.
Ooh,
that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
All right. TBD. Will be happening. All right. Well, Mike, thank you so much for being on the show,
Thanks,
man.
Mike.
We really appreciate it. We'd love to have you come back again sometime.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure. I'm into it. Thanks for having me.
We're dying. We got to fill the episodes.
I have no life, and I'll be stuck in my house, so I'm down.
Yeah. Make sure your forest redoubt has good internet.
Right. Exactly.
And that's it for this episode of Dune Pod. I want to thank Jason and Mike for a wild conversation. Next week, we witness Rebecca Ferguson in her full power in Mission Impossible Fallout. Again, if you haven't watched both Rogue Nation and Fallout, I highly recommend them as they're some of the most fun action movies in years. If you're enjoying this podcast, follow us at Dune Pod on Instagram and Twitter, share our social media posts, as it really helps new listeners find the show. Dune Pod is a production of Haitch Industries, a member of the Paper Keg Radio Syndicate. The episode was produced and edited by me, Haitch. Our artwork is by Catcher, and our theme music was composed by Toby Forsman of Whipsong Music. Thanks for listening. We'll see everybody next week.